thought I wasn't going to get up here, didn't you? Good morning. Good to be with you this morning. Great to be able to teach in our Bible class, and it's good to have the opportunity to share some things with you. Can y'all hear me? Everybody hear me? Okay. I understand that you're streaming this, is that correct? This being streamed? Well, we got 2 or 3 heads that says yes. So I want to welcome the streamers to our service this morning, and I want to tell you, you need to get back to the assembly as quick as you can. Number one, Satan wants you to have a cup of coffee in your nightgown and watch the assembly. And we can get accustomed to doing that. But the Bible says that we need to be together. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25, it's been taught over the years, if you don't come to church, you're going to go to hell, but that's not what it teaches. It teaches we need to be together because we need each other. We need to be encouraged. We need to be admonished. We need to be encouraged in every way to live a Christian life, because the folks out on the street and the folks where you work, the folks where you go to school, they're not going to encourage you to do anything. We need the encouragement of the brethren. And if you can come to the assembly, I want to challenge you. You need to get up. You need to get ready. You need to come. You won't make it today, but you can come at the next service. I also want to thank Jimmy and Monica Clary for driving all the way over here. Monica does the books for me and the mission, and she keeps me in line, so I'm grateful for that and grateful they're here. And then I want to tell you, there's someone that goes to this congregation that I've known for about 1,000 years, and that's Rose Watson. Glenn was one of my very, very best buddies. We used to tell each other that you can hold up your hand, and this is how many friends you have in the world. That's friends that will help you whatever the situation is. And Glenn was one of those. And I really learned to love him, and he was very special to me. And of course, you know Rose, you know that song says to know me is to love me, so if you know Rose, you love Rose. And I knew Pam before she was hatched, and so I've known him a long time. I'm glad to have the privilege to be here. I'm an old country boy. I hope I can see how to get this thing going here. There we are. That's y'all. Here we are. Look right here. Y'all are really fancy over here. Back in the woods where I preach, we don't have these. Yes, we do. I work with Southern Sudan Mission. By the way, my name is Tyrone Mynhier, like my ear. And I told Erwin I didn't want to be introduced as anything. I didn't care if he told you my name, but I don't want any glory for anything, because that goes to Jesus Christ. And I read in Acts chapter 12 where Herod didn't give honor to Jesus and he was eaten up by worms, and I'm not interested in that at all. So I work with Southern Sudan Mission, and that gal there is with me this morning, and she's been with me for almost 62 years. And she's the reason I'm a Christian, and she is definitely the one that keeps me going in more ways than one. And I'm really thankful to God for her. Hope you get to meet her and talk to her. It's really a blessing. The goal of our mission is to make disciples of all nations. Baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I command you. Also, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, we commit to faithful men who in return will commit to others. I put this slide in here because this is one of the first persons that I taught to. Whoops, wait a minute now. Don't go too fast on me. Okay. This is one of the first persons I taught when I was in Ethiopia, and they don't have CNI dogs or anything like that, and I'm going to have to wrestle with this deal here. But anyway, we had to lead her to the water, and you know that's what our responsibility is, to lead people to Christ. So I work in Ethiopia, but I work with Sudanese refugees, and I'm having problems with my clicker here. So I told you I'm a country boy, right? Okay, So the Sudan is very rich in biblical history. That's where the 𝗕cie, the son of Ham, went and established work over there, or involved in that part of the country. And so there's a tremendous amount of biblical history there. It was ruled by the British, so it's actually an English-speaking nation, although the Sudanese have been in refugee camps nearly all their lives, so only about 25% of them are literate. But all the guys that go to school, the school we have, the School of Biblical Studies, have to be able to read English and to write. So they are an English-speaking language. They have many, many dialects over there. When the Muslims gained power in Khartoum, Sudan, they began to force Sharia law and the Islamic religion on all of Sudan. And so when they got to South Sudan, the South Sudanese would have nothing to do with it. And they said they rebelled against it. And because they rebelled, the Muslims came in and they killed all the people that they could kill. They burned up everything that exists in that part of the world. They destroyed all the infrastructure. They just went through and killed and destroyed people by the thousands. And so there was a civil war that started. I'm sorry, I got to get back here. The civil war that was started, it lasted for 25 years. And during that time, many people lost their lives and many people were moved to refugee camps where they lived. As I mentioned, the Sudanese destroyed everything that they could come in their path. This is the Sudanese going to refugee camps, if you can imagine. What they own is on their head. And when they get to a refugee camp, they get a tarp. It's 12 by 12, and they're told to go out and build you a little house out there. They give them 1 gallon of corn, 1 gallon of lentils, and ½ a gallon of oil per person per month. That's what they exist on. This is a refugee camp. That's all the blessings that they have. Well, they signed a peace agreement in July the 9th, 2011, and the peace agreement brought about peace for a period of time. But this is the Sudan and South Sudan, because of the civil war. It's divided into 2 countries there. And so there was peace for a little while, and the leaders of the South Sudan, they appointed a Dinka, a man from the Dinka tribe. There's 7 major tribes. They appointed a man from the Dinka tribe as president of South Sudan. They appointed a man from the Nuer tribe as vice president, and we work with the Nuer tribe. And they did real well for about 30 months until December 2013. Then they began accusing each other of starting a coup, and they started having tribal war. So all the wars that you hear about that's going on in Sudan now is tribal. The Muslims don't bother them at all. But the Dinka tribe kills everybody that gets in their way. I mean, they have absolutely no qualms about killing it. On the right-hand side there is a grave where there was a church building, and the Dinka tribe come into the Nuer territory. There were a bunch of elderly women and preachers, they call priests and so forth, and they hid in the church building. They hid underneath the pews and so forth, and they come in and just killed all of them. And this is the grave that's a memorial to those people. I just thought it'd be interesting if you see that. So you either hide in the bush, you get out of the country, or you lose your life. So therefore, many people will return to the refugee camps. Now there's 3 additional refugee camps. Before they had 5, now there's several more refugee camps in the area. So I was mentioning our Bible class this morning concerning Acts chapter 17, and I really believe this. It says that God put people where he wanted them to be, that perhaps they could hear his word and reach out and serve him. And I believe that that's good, and I think that's important. I mean, I'm not a Sudanese and displaced from my country, but we were chasing Sudanese all over the South Sudan, and now God's brought them to us in the refugee camps, and we have the opportunity to teach them about Jesus. So for that reason, we started the Southern Sudan Mission. I started teaching over there at Sunset International Bible Institute. Called me and asked me if I would go teach Sudanese refugees in 2008. I went over and began teaching in 2008. And at that time, we were busing the Sudanese refugees from a town called 𝗕cie into Addis Ababa, which is the capital. And it's a 2-day journey. And we kept them for 12 weeks. And we taught them the Bible, and then we sent them back home. when we sent them back home, they didn't have any guidance. There wasn't anything there. And so I talked to the leaders, the Ethiopian leaders of the church, and I asked them what they thought about me moving that school of preaching to 𝗕elle. And they said, well, we think you can't do it. And I said, well, why can't we do it? They said, because nobody will come and help you because it gets 125 and 130 degrees over there. And you'll be isolated over there by yourself. And I said, well, I want to do it. And so they permitted me to do it. And with their good graces, we moved the school to 𝗕elle in 2012. It's a blessing from 𝗕elle because the refugees have access to the border. The students now have guidance and protection and so forth. And because we're there, the Ethiopian government protects us if there's a rise up in Ethiopia where the government comes in and settles it down. Excuse me. When I first intended to go, I communed with a young man for about 6 months. I was going to meet him in South Sudan on the first of the year of 2012. And he called me the day before Christmas and said, I moved. He said, but there'll be a guy that will meet you, and when you get off the plane, he'll recognize you because you'll be the only person that's not that's white. So anyway, I got off the plane. I met this guy named James 𝗕cie, and I'm telling you, God is good. And this is definitely God's plan to do this. And so I met James, and James has been an unbelievable, relentless servant over there. He directs the work when I'm not there, and he's responsible for everything. This building is what they call a house of prayer. We call it a church building here. But this is what they had when I got there. This building would accommodate about 50 people. And there was James and his wife, and they had 2 small children. And then there was an older man and an older woman. They were not married. And there was like 12 of our students that we'd taught in Addis Ababa when we began to work, about 20 people there. And we started our work under the school, under the trees. And you say, well, we didn't have a building, you can't do this. Yes, you can. You can do what you determined to do. So we actually started the school under the trees. This is a chiropractor who's also a preacher who graduated White Ferry Road School of Preaching, but he was teaching under the trees there. And I don't know if you know the guy on the right, that's 𝗕cie. Many of you may know him. He worked with Bob Buchanan. They've been working in the Philippines since the 50s. You see his blackboard there? That's the stick he's using to diagram there with. So we got foam mattresses for the kids, 4-inch foam mattresses, and they slept on that in the church building, and we'd roll them up on Sunday so we could have services. And we had to teach outside anyway because there's no electricity, there's no fans, there's no cooling, and it gets really hot. And when you have windows, well, that makes it even hotter. One of our responsibilities we gave our students is you go out and teach your family about Jesus. Well, when they went to teach their family about Jesus, what do you think happened? They were rejected. Their family said, this is not our religion. This is not what our grandfather was. This is not what our father was. This is not our religion at all. And they started accusing us of being false teachers. We were the 𝗕abinati. We were the ones that was in rebellion to God. Said it was a young man's church. Well, it was and is a young man's church because if you're a Sudanese refugee, you don't have any money. Now, gals, get ready for this. You're worth 25 cows. So if you want to get married to a Sudanese girl, you have to have 25 cows for dowry, and maybe 30, maybe 35. But so you may be worth up to 50, I don't know. But anyway, and then we had another problem. They said, we've never heard of the Church of Christ. And we talked about that in our Bible class this morning. And so the parents came to us and they asked us to quit teaching people about Jesus because many people were leaving their congregation and they were coming to where we were. And of course, that was on deaf ears, and we continued to teach. So they incited the religious leaders. And the religious leaders came over and talked to us as well. They spread lies about us. They said we were a dangerous cult. They made threats on our life and so forth, but we just kept right on teaching the gospel. But we was having quite a bit of opposition. The building that we had when it was given to the brethren was in the bush. The bush is the forest, the woods. It was in the bush, and there was no city there. Now the city's moved out to there, but nobody goes to the church building before I got over there that amounted to anything. And so I'm on my way home on an airplane, and I'm trying to figure out what can we do to get rid of some of this hostility that we have from all the people in 𝗕blive. And this little light went off in my head, and I said, we ought to have a vacation Bible school. And I got home and I talked to a gal right there, this second on the right. Her name is Joni Roberts. She retired from teaching school that year, 32 years teaching mentally handicapped children. I said, Joni, would you like to direct a vacation Bible school in Ethiopia? And she said, absolutely. That was pretty neat. A couple of days she come back and she said, you know what? You need to understand I'm a shopper. She said, and I read it, they've got thousands of shops in 𝗕blive. And I said, oh, they do? They do. I didn't tell her that a shop is you throw down a blanket and you put toys and stuff on it, so they don't have it. But anyway, she got over there. We were glad of that. And of course, that's the other gal that was with it. And on Saturday, I was already over there teaching in the school, and so when my wife and these other three ladies come, we did what you normally do. We rented school buildings, and we went to school buildings to clean them up. I can't even tell you how bad that was. Went to clean them up, and so we're in this dirt road, crossroads here, and we're in the school, and all these people looked over there, and they saw all these white folk over there. And so they came over there, and they said, we want to know what's going on here. So James, the director of the school, said to me, Tyrone, these people want to know what's going on. I said, James, I told you we're going to have vacation Bible school. He said, Tyrone, what's a vacation Bible school? I said, we're going to teach their children about Jesus. And so I told them, we're going to teach your children about Jesus. And they said, well, yeah, we want our children to come. Well, they had pre-registered 100 children. And the way you do that is you get their name and you put on a fence post on a piece of type paper, so they had 100 names on there. And they told the parents, you go out there and you go, if your child's name's on that fence post, you have them here at 8:30 Monday morning. Well, Monday morning we had about 350 children and probably 100 parents. And you talking about chaos. We had parents and children was really upset because we could only accommodate 100. And so they come down to the school preaching where I was at, telling me that they didn't have room and we were discriminating and all that. And I tell them, look, we prepared for 100 children. We didn't have a clue we were going to have this many children. But if one of these children drop out, well, yours will come in. Well, of course, none of the children dropped out. But the school buildings, they have cement about up to here, and then they have tile like this, as you can see, because there's no fans or anything, and that's the only circulation they have. And so on the outside, we had about 250 children, and on the inside, we had 100 children. And the children on the outside learned all the songs, they learned all the lessons, they did everything, they just didn't get any handouts. Well, that's very important if you get anything from America. But when they got their handouts, well, they went down the street and so forth, and the people stopped them to look at their handouts and so forth. This is a celebration of one of our ending up vacation Bible school. That's kind of like we have here in America, isn't it? So guess what? We had almost 100 parents at our celebration. They'd never been on that place at all. They hated us, everything about us. And so we had this plan that we were going to have the little show and let the kids do what they learned and so forth. And we prepared river water with pink lemonade in it and popcorn. They'd never eaten popcorn before. In their market, they just have everything in barrels. They had barrels and barrels of corn. They didn't know it was popcorn. And boy, they love popcorn. That's our drawing card now. Everything we do, we have popcorn. They swarm to get the popcorn. But anyway, we had these 100 parents there almost on this occasion. Now we have some exposure on the school. But guess what? Satan never quits. And so we were doing a vacation Bible school in a little town called Lowry, and the Adventist and Assembly of God preacher told all the parents of the teachers that I mentioned these names. This is history and it's true. I'm not after anybody. They told all the parents that we were the Abenati, and we had some kind of pink stuff we put in river water and we was going to poison their kids and all that kind of stuff. And they went to the authorities, and the authorities came out to check us out. And of course, we're legal. We have all of our documentation and so forth. And they turned around and they told these people, get out of here. because these people are right in what they're doing. Many of the government leaders come and they talk to us, and after we studied with them, while they came back, they wanted to know more about what Jesus said than what these people have been telling us. God always wins, doesn't he? He always wins. So this is a couple of tired old people here. That's my wife of 62 years and me, and we're tired. These are just some of the teachers that we've had go. By the way, we need teachers for this year. We're growing very quickly, and we needed some land on the other side of 𝗕𝗀𝗀, and so we were looking for land, and we found this orphanage that had 600 children in it, 12 years old and down. Excuse me. No school facilities, nothing. They're just there. And we were able to find some land that joined this orphanage here. And so we bought the land that joined this orphanage, and we've built a facility there at that place. And we've completed 2 of the preachers' houses. We've completed the church building, and we have 6 classrooms that we're going to construct. And when we get through them, we're going to have teachers that's going to be there, and we're going to teach those kids, not for credit. We'll not be that because we don't want to deal with the government. But we will teach those kids English and the Bible through using the Bible. And when they grow up and get older, then they'll be taught right, and we won't have to argue about this background, that background, another background, and many of them will become Christians. This year, we decided we was going to move into Juba. Juba is the capital of South Sudan. It's very important that we be there. There's a lot of hostility still in Juba, but we determined that was an important thing to do. We were that far along, and this is just the certification of who we are and that we belong over there. And so God has really, really blessed that work. We've graduated from the school about numerous preachers that I missed here in my slide, but anyway, I'm going to go on. This is our facility now from the little small building we had. We have that church building we turned into a dorm and an office. We have restrooms and a shower. Nobody in that part of the way. All they have is a little hole in the ground. And so we have 4 dry toilets there. We have a place over here on the left. That's a children's shelter. That'll seat 300 children. It fills up on Sunday many times. Then we have a basketball court now. We have a church building over there. We have a baptistry. And we have a guest house and a cook shack. When I went over there, we were baptizing a lot of people. And we went to the river to baptize. Well, the river is full of crocodiles. And crocodiles will get you. And so when we go to the river to baptize, we get big old rocks and throw them in the river, and the crocodiles would run away. And then the people go in and baptize people in the river. Well, we since have built a baptistry, and so people come there to use the baptistry, but it's for us, and we bring people from the refugee camps and different places in to be baptized there, and so it's a real blessing. So that's the compound that we now have over there. So we've established over 50 congregations, starting off with less than 20 people in one congregation. We've established over 50 congregations. That's me speaking in a church building out in the refugee camp. We've graduated hundreds of preachers. We've worked with the Dinka, not the Dinka tribe, but the Nuer tribe and the Aniwak tribe. The Nuer were refugeed into 𝗕𝗀𝗀, and the Aniwak had moved into that area. And so the Aniwak claims it's their country, even though it's the Ethiopian country. But they hate the Nuer. And they kill each other on sight. That's hard for y'all to believe. Last trip I went over there, there was a family, and we'd actually taught the daughter of the family. And she was walking down the street with a couple of her friends, and the people from the other tribe saw them come down the street, and they run toward her, and the 2 guys abandoned her, and they just slit her throat and left her laying on the side of the wall. And of course, I had the opportunity to talk to her family a little bit, and I was going to go out to where they lived, and then they determined it was too dangerous to go out there. But that's how they are over there. The Sudanese mark themselves. and you can tell what tribe they're from their mark, but in the last 30 or 40 years they hadn't marked themselves. And so now the only way you can tell what tribe they're from is when they open their mouth and speak. So a lot of the Sudanese will be in the marketplace and so forth, and they carry a little knife, and a new Arab will come in the marketplace and they'll run out and stab him and run to the woods, and nobody can catch him. I mean, that's not where we're at. We don't not down that area, but that's how they act. So we've taught over 8,000 children in Vacation Bible School. The natives have taught 8,000 children. This year we plan to teach 8,000 kids in Vacation Bible School. And the thing about our Vacation Bible School is every year we've had to turn people away. And the kids want in so bad that we have to hire guards. So when the kids go out to for recess or play or something, the other kids run in and get in their classroom and sit down. So we have to hire guards to keep them from going in that and taking the spaces there. Numerous baptisms. This is in the crocodile water. Whoops. On several occasions we baptized more than 50 people at one time in the work over there. Just different baptisms. We also have a clinic. That's very important because they have one hospital there, and you have to have money to be treated, and most people can't be treated because they don't have any money. But we have a full-time clinical nurse that operates as a doctor. We have a family that attends Woodland Oaks, where I do, Church of Christ in the Woodlands, and they send 50 pounds of medicine 4 times a year over there. And so we're able to treat the people over there and give them different medicines and so forth, and help with their diseases. A lot of wound care. Usually during Vacation Bible School, some of our teachers are EMTs, and they'll come and do the wound care. This is like a spider bite or an insect bite or something, and they don't have any way to treat it, so it just gets worse and worse, and sometimes they actually sets up gangrene and lose their body. This is a child that was brought to our compound 2 days after it was burned. The daughter, the sister of this child, 3.5 years old, was babysitting this child, and they poured hot water was poured on the baby. All the skin was taken off. They brought it, and they punched holes in all and skinned it and so forth. And we called the doctors in Houston to see what we should do, and they told us how we could treat that and what we could do with it. And I determined it would be foolish for us to do it because if the baby died, then we'd have to contend with that. So we sent the baby to the hospital, and it stayed in the hospital for several days, and the baby's okay now. It's just scarred everywhere. We have water wells. You'll notice in the center picture, that's children getting drinking water after the rain. And we have a water well there that we give fresh water to the people. We do eyeglasses to help people with that. We feed people in the bush. If you're a Sudanese that does not have documentation, you cannot get out of Sudan. There's many that don't have documentation. They don't even know when their birthday or anything is. And so they're stranded in the Sudan. And you still have the Dinkas that's always on the move trying to kill them and so forth. So they're hidden out every place. And if they plant a garden or something, and the Dinkas come and find it, they take the garden, they destroy the building, and they kill whatever people they can kill. And so we feed a lot of people in the bush. And we have 2,000 or 3,000 family heads in the bush that we feed all the time on a regular basis. When we start a congregation, we always ask the new Christians to go to the government officials and tell them we'd like to have some land to build a house of prayer. That's a church building. And almost without exception, the government will give us land. We get legal deeds, documentation. We don't build on anything without deeds. They'll give us land. They'll give us land for a compound for a church building. We build a compound there. And we've asked a couple of leaders if they would give us some agriculture land. And so 2 different areas, they've given us 25 acres of agriculture land. And this is some of the corn that we've grown there. Now, one of our board members is a professional farmer in New Mexico. He farms about 12,000 acres of land. And so he went over to look at the first crop that we planted. And I'm not a farmer, okay? And so we were looking at the field, and we walked along, and they had this, like four corn stalks coming up out of this one hole. And I thought, boy, isn't this great? And Colin is the farmer. He said, this is not good. I said, what? He said, this is not good because you have four corn stalks contending for the water and everything they need to grow. You can only put one corn kernel in a hole, and they'll grow one corn. So anyway, they decided to do that. Now we get about 100 bushels of corn per acre for that. And what we do with that is we take it, give those who work it and harvest it and so forth, we give them a third, and we send 2/3 into the bush to feed people. So that's a real blessing. Colin, he's an elder in Portales, New Mexico. His father goes and teaches. He's an elder in Portales, New Mexico also. They looked at the land. They said, boy, if we get us a tractor over here, we could plant 3 crops a year. We could plant corn, we could plant soybeans, then we could plant wheat. And we could feed all the people in that area. So we're in the process of trying to get a tractor. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to get it from Addis Ababa to where we are, but we're working on that, and you need to pray for us that we can get that accomplished. So our goals then for this year is we intend to graduate 60 people from the School of Preaching. We want to establish 10 new congregations. We hope to teach 8,000 kids in Vacation Bible School, and it's not too late if you'd like to go. We have 4 weeks in July, but you'd have to really get on the ball. But we need about 6 teachers to go this time. Well, I hope to have 750 baptisms. The orphans compound, as I mentioned to you, we're expanding that as soon as we get the other 6 church buildings built, and we will move teachers in there. Hopefully we'll get some kids from the AIM program. We'll get some other teachers that'll go in and work with that, and we'll be able to teach those children. Across the street, they have another orphanage, and that's 12 years old and up. They have schools over there. So we'll teach Vacation Bible School in those schools over there. Then we have the Juba construction. Boy, we moved into Juba. We've already purchased land over there and so forth, but it's just out of sight. And we're going to build a school of preaching over there and have a work over there that's going to really be useful to spread on into the rest of South Sudan. I've been all through South Sudan when I can go by plane, but when the rebels are overtaking the airports and so on and so forth, then we can't travel. But we're really desirous of getting the program going in Juba and have a school of preaching and also a Bible college over there. And we're going to have better agriculture. Again, we're hoping for a tractor. They have tractors over there that the government owns, and they loan the tractors to the individuals. You can pay a driver and buy the gas, and you can use their tractor. But when the season comes, well, everybody's trying to get the tractor. And so we're going to get limited resources on that. So here we are, brethren. I have become a professional beggar for Jesus Christ because we cannot do anything if we don't have your help. And the Lord has blessed this work from this little small building to all that you've seen on this screen. And we're growing every day, starting new congregations every day, reaching out to people every day, baptizing. We don't know how many congregations we have in the Sudan. We don't know how many baptisms we have in Sudan because we can't get into Sudan. Every now and then someone will work their way across the border and come in where we are, and they'll tell us what we have. We know we've got a lot of starving brethren over there, and they take the food they hide it to get it in there. So we really need your support to continue on this. We need your prayers. We certainly need your moral support, all the encouragement we get. We need your financial support. We need congregations and individuals to support us. And so hopefully this congregation will want to support this work, and hopefully there's people in this congregation that would like to support our work. I have some letters here somewhere over there on the bench, and my wife does. It will help you know where to send your contributions, how to do that. If you'd like to get on one of our newsletters, we'd like to have you on that. We have one-time contributions, quarterly contributions, annual contributions, and monthly contributions. We don't reject anything. We take it all. And we want you to tell others about this great opportunity. That's very important to us because the more exposure we have, the more people will be involved and the more that we can do about that. And we need teachers, as I mentioned a while ago. So never forget, brothers and sisters, we can't go without y'all. You are extremely important to this mission. And I just want to thank you and thank the elders here on behalf of my wife and I for permitting me to come and do this presentation. And I hope it'll touch your heart and you'll want to be involved in it through your prayers, through your finances, and through going if you'd like to go. We'd like to have you. So we're a 501c3 corporation. We're non-profit. So you can make tax-deductible contributions. You can make them to Southern Sudan Mission. You can make them to 3rd and 𝗕cie Church of Christ. All those should be sent to me, and I'll give you the address in just a moment. You can go through the website, and you can contribute on PayPal or Venmo. It's all tax-deductible. You mail everything to Southern Sudan Mission to my address, and I post it and so forth. And I tell Monica, and she says you did a good job. No, she doesn't know it, but anyway, we're glad for that. I wanted to just mention for a moment what we were talking about, because we don't want to have a service without talking about the Lord. And if you're visiting with us, we as the body of Christ understand that we have a responsibility to teach the gospel to people. And so I would like to encourage you to know that there are people here today, including myself, that if you don't know about Jesus, we'd like to tell you about Jesus. We don't want you to die without Jesus. You need Jesus more than you need the next breath of air that you breathe. Because appointed unto man once to die, and after that comes the judgment. I just put this scripture on here, and I quoted it in our Bible class, and we need to think about it. Think about what it's saying. How then can they call on the one whom they've not believed? How can they believe in the one whom they've not heard? And how shall they hear without someone to teach them? That didn't say without an elder to teach them. That didn't say without a deacon or a preacher to teach them. It says someone to teach them. I mentioned Moses in our Bible class. Here's the scriptures. Moses said, I'm not eloquent. I've never been eloquent. I'm slow of speech. He went on to say, I have faltering lips. And God asked him a question, Moses, who gave you that mouth? So not only do we want persons to know about Jesus if you're here and invite you to come into covenant relationship with him, but we want to encourage you and myself when we leave this building to realize we have a responsibility to tell people about Jesus Christ. And we talked about this in our Bible class. God said to Moses, I'll make you as God to the people. And God give you and me, Christians, the privilege to be his ambassadors. The privilege to speak to other people for him and through his word, that they might come into covenant relationship with him. If you're not a Christian, you need to be, because that's the most important thing in this life. We want to encourage you, if you don't know what you need to do to become a Christian, to talk to one of us. I'd love to share with you about Jesus. And there's others here that would. And you can leave this building today knowing you're a new creation on your way to heaven. As a Christian, if you've not lived as Jesus wanted you to, you need to repent. You need to change your life. You need to come back to the Lord. And all of us need to realize our responsibility to Jesus. As you go into the world, teach people about Jesus. If you need Lord's invitation, we'd encourage you to come as we stand and sing.